The action axiom, proving everything by saying anything. A mocking critique of the Austrian school's misuse of performative contradiction and pseudologic. Libertarians, particularly of the anarcho-capitalist variety, have long sought the holy grail of moral justification. Tired of messy empirical tests and evolutionary feedback loops, they instead retreat to a pristine temple of logic, where all truth can be summoned from one sacred incantation, the action axiom. And from this humble tautology, humans act, they claim to derive an entire moral universe. Self-ownership, property rights, the non-aggression principle, even the illegitimacy of taxation and the righteousness of privately owned nukes. The method of delivery? A rhetorical booby trap known as the performative contradiction. If you deny the action axiom, you're acting. Gotcha! You just proved Austrian economics, all of praxeology, and Hoppian libertarian ethics. That's not philosophy. That's cosmic cheating. Hi, what is the action axiom? In its most basic form, the action axiom is this: humans act. That's it. That's the whole thing. An action is defined as purposeful behavior, meaning the use of means to achieve ends. So if you do anything intentionally, you are acting. If you get up to grab a drink, you acted. If you write an essay, you acted. If you murder someone, well, still an action. The Austrian school, especially Ludwig von Mises and Hans Hermann Hoppe, treats this like a Kantian bedrock of truth. And to deny it is, allegedly, a performative contradiction, a contradiction between what you say and what you do. So if I say, humans don't act, but I'm saying that sentence with a goal in mind, then supposedly I've disproven myself. Therefore, action is undeniable. But let's not stop there. According to Hoppe, if I engage in argumentation, the act of debating truth claims, then I must already accept the ethical norms that make argument possible. And those norms, conveniently, include self-ownership and libertarian property rights. In short, if you talk, you agree with me. 2. Why this is philosophical sleight of hand. Let's start by granting that anyone who argues is acting. Fine. But now let's dismantle the mile-high tower libertarians try to build on that one brick. 1. The axiom has no logical quantifiers. Here's the bait. Humans act. It has no formal quantifiers. No. For all. No. There exists. No. Under conditions X. It's not even a proper proposition. It's just a grammatically correct sentence that feels true. But because it's so vague, and caps use it as a blank canvas to smuggle in precision later without anyone noticing. Watch the bait and switch. Humans act. Therefore, all action is purposeful. Therefore, all humans always act purposefully. Therefore, to argue is to act purposefully. Therefore, you accept self-ownership and libertarian ethics. That's not logic. That's slippery poetry in a lab coat. If you tried to write this as a formal proof, you'd get laughed out of any logic seminar. Yet NCAPs treat it as metaphysical gospel. A real axiom with formal rigor would look something like X humans T time X? Or even more specifically, X agents, agent X chooses means M to achieve end E, under conditions of uncertainty. But that's not what humans act gives you. It gives you nothing but rhetorical camouflage. 2. The axiom is trivial and vacuous. Humans act is about as insightful as saying, things happen. Yes, humans do things. That doesn't mean all things humans do are rational, purposeful, or worthy of moral codification. The term, action, as Austrians use it, is so loose, it includes reflexes, compulsions, panic, and even mistaken beliefs. As long as you can retroactively assign a goal to it, it counts. This is like defining communication as any movement with a consequence, and then claiming that blinking, sneezing, or vomiting is a valid form of argumentation. The statement is technically unfalsifiable. Anything can be called purposeful if you're desperate enough. That's not analysis. That's post hoc mythology. 3. From acting to ethics? That's a leap, not a deduction. The worst offense is how ANCAPs go from you're acting to you accept self-ownership to you endorse private property rights and libertarian ethics to taxation is theft. This is the Hoppian chain of delusion. They claim that because argumentation requires a body and language, you're presupposing ownership of yourself and the ability to control scarce resources. But you can argue for socialism, monarchy, or universal mind uploading without being logically inconsistent. You're just disagreeing with them, not reality. This is the equivalent of saying, you used a pencil, so you must support graphite-based capitalism. It's not a proof. It's a philosophical ambush. 4. Evolution doesn't care if you contradict yourself. Even if someone did contradict themselves in debate, evolution doesn't care. If their system produces more stability, productivity, or survivability, they win. Nature doesn't reward syllogisms, it rewards results. A system that violates Hoppian purity but solves real allocation problems will outcompete any doctrine built on linguistic tightrope walking. The only contradiction that matters is when your theory gets crushed by reality. 3. The real performative contradiction, libertarians themselves. Let's flip the spotlight. Libertarians claim to value defense, yet build their systems on indefensible Lockean fairy tales. They worship subjective value, then claim their ethics are logically undeniable. They exalt market forces, but reject a bid-based reputation system that actually reflects productivity. They denounce coercion, yet demand restitution schemes that require centralized enforcement. And most ironically of all, they claim to be defenders of reason, while promoting a philosophical system that has no predictive power, no evolutionary stability, and no testable consequences. That's a real performative contradiction. 4. Conclusion: you can't derive a moral system from grammar. Humans act is not a foundation. It's a distraction. It's a tautological truism hijacked and rebranded as a gateway to moral certainty. The performative contradiction, as used by ANCAPs, is nothing more than a rhetorical cage. If you speak, you've already agreed, so shut up. But logic doesn't bind you to libertarianism. Evolution doesn't care about your axioms. And morality cannot be derived from the act of opening your mouth. If Hoppe's logic were so airtight, nature would have hard-coded it into bacteria by now.